So let's proceed to the goals of teacher education in the Philippines. First, imparting an adequate knowledge of the subject matter. So ang first na or isa sa goals ng teacher education is to impart an adequate knowledge of the subject matter. Sa part ng instructors to impart an adequate knowledge of the subject matter, meaning para ituro doon sa students, sa future educators, yung necessary knowledge and skills sa kanilang fields. For example, kung Bachelor of Elementary Education ba yan, and kung Bachelor of Secondary Education, ano yung major na kinukuha ng student, kailangan mabigay sa kanila or maituro sa kanila yung adequate na knowledge, no, doon sa subject matter. Kasi syempre pag graduate nila, after nila makapass ng LET, magtuturo din sila. So kailangan ma-master nila yung subject matter or yung major nila. Sa part naman ng students, kailangan they are expected na matutunan nila, no, yung majors nila, to make sure na tama yung or enough or adequate yung knowledge na dadalhin nila kapag naging educator din sila or naging teacher. Another goal of teacher education is equipping the prospective teachers with necessary pedagogic skills. To develop a skill to stimulate experience in the thought under an artificially created environment, less with material resources and more by the creation of an emotional atmosphere. The teacher should develop a capacity to do, observe, infer, and generalize. So, importante importante itong pangalawang goal, no? Kasi kailangan matutunan talaga ng future educators yung mga necessary or needed, no, na pedagogic skills. Kung ano yung mga kailangan to become an effective teacher. Another goal is enabling the teacher to acquire understanding of child psychology. To understand the child psychology so that the teacher is able to appreciate the difficulties experienced by children so as to bring about new modes and methods of achieving the goals in consonance with the reactions of the children. Kasi sa teacher education, ang pinaka tinuturuan talaga or pinakasakop talaga nito is yung elementary and secondary education or yung primary education. So, kailangan talaga na may turo doon sa mga future educators, yung kumukuha ng teacher education degrees or degree programs, kailangan may turo sa kanila kung paano yung understanding ng child psychology. Kasi yung mga bata, iba-iba yung learning skills nila. Yung iba, yung learning skills nila, kailangan binabasa nila ng binabasa nila ng malakas, no? para ma-memorize nila, yung iba naman silent, ganyan. Iba-iba din sila ng methods, iba-iba sila ng ways, no, kung paano matuto. So kailangan talaga ng understanding ng child psychology. Another is developing proper attitudes towards teaching. To develop proper attitudes towards teaching, as a result of which he will be able to maximize the achievements from both the material and human resources. There is also development of a proper perception of the problems of universal enrollment, regular attendance, year-to-year promotion. No, so importante din na maituro, no, or matutunan ng mga students yung proper attitudes towards teaching, and adjustment with himself to derive emotional satisfaction with his life. Another is enabling teachers to make proper use of instructional facilities. Kailangan maging resourceful ang teachers. So kaya nga sa teacher education, tinuturuan sila kung paano gumawa ng mga instructional materials, paano gamitin yung mga instructional facilities. To develop the capacity to extend the resources of the school by means of improvisation of instructional facilities. Kasi very limited yung instructional materials na available. Even in government, sa private, may ilan, no? May mangilan-ngilan na private institutions na very advanced, no, when it comes to instructional facilities or materials. Pero karamihan, majority, ay kulang na kulang sa instructional facilities. So kailangan matutunan din ng or maituro din doon sa future educators or yung mga kumukuha ng teacher education kung paano nila maximize yung use sa mga instructional facilities and materials. And then, enabling teachers to understand the significance of individual differences of child and to take appropriate steps for their optimum development. To know the causes of individual differences, as a result of which he will be able to develop the ability to be a child with children, an adult with the adults, and a responsible citizen among the community. And then development of the ability to give direct satisfaction of parents from the achievement of children in terms of proper habits of taking care of the body. No? Kasi nga, lalo na yung BEd, no? Or yung sa BEd, yung early childhood education pa. Kung yun yung major mo or major ng bata or ng student, kailangan talaga to, no? Yung proper habits of taking care of the body. Kasi kasama yan sa curriculum ng DepEd. Then progress in the class as well as proper attitudes reflected in the behavior of the children at home, school, streets, farms and fields, etc. No? So kailangan din yung proper attitude and behavior ng children, no? Hindi lang sa school, pati sa bahay or kahit sa streets. And provides the clinical experience of the interns or student teachers as they apply the skills and competencies they acquired in the teacher education curriculum. Then prepares students fulfill all the tasks and responsibilities to become effective teachers. No? Yun naman din talaga yung pinaka-goal ng teacher education. No? Para maging prepared yung students sa lahat ng tasks and responsibilities para maging effective teachers. Then allow students to analyze information on the state of the art of theory and practice in education, honing them to integrate issues and topics to practical classroom circumstances, and to demonstrate up-to-date knowledge and latest developments in their specific field of education practice. And allow students to work effectively and independently in interdisciplinary and multicultural teams, specifically demonstrating professional, social, and ethical responsibility, intellectual property rights, and sustainable development. Another is to allow students to communicate information, ideas, problems, and solutions, both orally and in writing, to key decision makers, stakeholders, and the public, developing them to interpret relevant scientific data and make judgments that include reflection on relevant scientific and ethical issues, and carry out action researches pertaining to the teaching and learning. And finally, to allow students to think independently and make their own decisions by applying critical and problem-solving skills. So, those are the goals of teacher education in the Philippines. Now, here are the outcomes of teacher education programs in the Philippines, or the expected outcomes of teacher education programs in the Philippines. Okay, first is to articulate the rootedness of education in philosophical, sociocultural, historical, psychological, and political contexts. Next is to develop innovative curricula, instructional plans, teaching approaches, and resources for diverse learners. So, kailangan matutunan ito ng teacher, or kailangan matutunan ito ng students, no, na kumukuha ng teacher education programs, no, kung paano mag-develop ng innovative curricula. Kasi hindi basta-basta yung paggawa ng curriculum. Kailangan pinag-aaralan siya or pinagpaplanuhan ng mabuti. Instructional plans, teaching approaches, no? Kasi kailangan mag-apply ng different teaching approaches. Kung hindi effective yung ginagamit mong teaching approach ngayon, no, you have to, maybe you have to, or you need to change, no, your teaching approach, and then mag-apply ng another approach hanggang sa makuha mo yung effective teaching approach. Kasi depende din sa set of students mo or pupils. Pwedeng dito sa isang set na to, effective yung ganitong approach, pero sa kabilang set or sa another set, hindi effective yung the same approach na yon. So you need to apply different approach. And resources for diverse learners. Then, to demonstrate mastery of subject matter or discipline. No? Siyempre, kailangan kasi wala naman talagang kaya nga merong mga may mga field of specialization, no, yung mga degree programs, kasi hindi talaga kaya na i-master mo lahat, no. For example, in kahit sa BE-Ed, no, kahit walang major yung BE-Ed, kasi they are expected na kaya nilang ituro lahat, pero meron pa rin yang uh, subject matter na pwedeng i-focus, no, ng isang ng student. Another one is to demonstrate a variety of thinking skills in planning, monitoring, assessing, and reporting learning processes and outcomes. Then we also have to apply skills in the development and utilization of ICT to promote quality, relevant, and sustainable educational practices. This one is very important, no? Yung pag-integrate ng information and communications technology sa education, no? Kasi hindi na tayo pwedeng bumalik pa sa traditional way of education. Kailangan talagang mag-improve kasi yung technology sa ngayon na very rapid, no, yung development, so kailangan makisabay din kahit papaano yung education system. So kahit hindi isang bagsakan, kahit paunti-unti na-integrate yung information and communications technology para hindi nabibigla yung sistema. Parang yung nangyari ngayon nung nagkaroon ng COVID-19 pandemic, parang nabigla, no, yung majority, if not all, ng mga educational institutions kasi hindi integrated yung information and communications technology sa education system. And then to practice professional and ethical teaching standards sensitive to the local, national, and global realities. Okay, importante din ito, no? Yung professionalism and ethical teaching standards. Kailangan na ma ma-acquire ito siya, no? Na knowledge and skill ng kumukuha ng teacher education programs. Sensitive to the local, national, and global realities kasi iba-iba, no? Pwedeng by ano din, pwedeng kung Maranao yung ano mo, yung pupils or students, pwedeng okay lang sa kanila, pwedeng for them ethical yung ginagawa mo, pero pagdating sa another set naman, no, for example, mga Maguindanaon, pwedeng hindi ethical for them yung approach mo. No, so kailangan maging ano ka, kailangan yung student maging or expected na maging flexible siya, yung marunong mag-adapt, no, depende doon sa locality, no, doon sa nationality or doon sa reality ng community. And then to facilitate learning using a wide range of teaching methodologies and delivery modes appropriate to specific learners and their environments. No, parang ngayon din, no, ang daming approaches or methods. Kasi walang isang method or approach na applicable to everyone. Iba-iba talaga uh, yung ma-apply sa kanila na methods or approach. No, for example, ngayong sa pagtama ng COVID-19 pandemic, yung iba online yung preferred, no? Yung iba naman hindi maka-online kasi walang internet connection. So ang preferred nila is modular. Yung iba naman ayaw ng modular kasi tamad magbasa, gusto nila video. Yung iba naman hindi pwedeng mag-video kasi walang smartphone, walang mapaglagyan. So gusto nila face to face. So iba-iba. So hindi ka talaga maka-stick to one methodology or approach. So yun nga, kailangan na matutunan ng kumukuha ng teacher education program yung pagiging flexible, pagiging resourceful. And finally, to pursue lifelong learning for personal and professional growth through varied experiential and field-based opportunities. So itong last na expected outcomes for teacher education programs, parang common na din ito sa lahat ng degree programs to pursue lifelong learning. Kasi hindi pwede na pagka-graduate mo ng college, for example, nag-stop ka na. Kailangan continuous pa rin yung learning. So, pwede kang mag-enroll ng certificate programs, pwede kang mag-enroll ng masteral, no? Pwede kang mag-doctor, or kahit hindi certificate, master or doctor, kahit ano lang, through seminars, mga workshops, trainings, so para at least na continuous pa rin yung learning. Or kahit self-learning, no? For your personal and professional growth. So, that's all for my report, and these are the references that I used in this report. So if you want to read further, you can visit or search for these resources. So that's all. Thank you. So the uh, other topics under Module 3, specifically under Module 3, Lesson 2, specifically the curriculum and problems and issues of teacher education in the Philippines will be reported by Ma'am Rosaifa Haji Ali. So again, thank you so much and wassalam.